We are talking about the Seattle Seahawks here. So let's get them on the stage here.
There we go.
We're going to start off with their losses and additions. As always, this team was 9-8 last year. They lost Drew Lock, now a member of my New York Football Giants.
There you go.
Will be the day one starter. Stay tuned for next week. Maybe a little bit of we'll be previewing the NFC Beast then. Tight end Colby Parkinson, offensive guard starter Damian Lewis, some starters in the linebacking core, Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner, and Jamal Adams, who, so much potential, just can never stay healthy. Additions, they added one mid quarterback for another. They went Drew Lock and traded him for Sam Howell. You got Laken Tomlinson at guard, taking over for Damian Lewis. Jerome Baker taking over the middle linebacker spot from Miami. He's a pretty good player there. Center Nick Harris, and their first-round draft pick, Byron Murphy, the second from Texas. What are your initial takeaways there?
Honestly, I think this basically amounts to the same Seahawks as last year. Like, tell me something that's changed here. I mean, you trade guard for guard, Laken Tomlinson versus Damian Lewis. I mean, they're
yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, we switched out, linebacker, a couple linebackers and a safety, and like a lineman.
I mean, Byron Murphy definitely has some potential there, but
he doesn't even need to start behind that good defensive line.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, you're right. They're pretty much running it back.
They're running it back, and last year, as the record can show, they were 9-8.
Yep.
So, what would you expect the Seahawks season to look like this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to Geno Smith. I think I do think this defense is really solid. Looking up and down the board, Jaron Williams, Draymond Jones, Boye Mafe, Uchenna Nwosu, who we're going to talk about in a second, coming back from injury. They're, this is a solid defense, right? So I think that's one of my biggest takeaways, especially that secondary with Witherspoon, Julian Love, Rick Woolen, and they got Rayshawn Jenkins there. I think this defense is really good. I think it's all going to come down to Geno Smith. How much do you believe in Geno Smith? What Geno Smith are we going to see? I think he's kind of going to be their ceiling. And I think that's what it's going to come down to ultimately.
I would tend to agree there. I mean, like you said, their defense is solid. You got the 12th man behind you at home. What Geno is going to show up week to week is the big question.
Exactly. All right, we're going to talk about some injuries real quick. So we've got a couple guys coming back from some injuries. Talked about them briefly. Uchenna Nwosu, pass rusher there. He tore his pectoralis major muscle at October 26, 2023. So, typically about a 4 to 6 month recovery process for a pec tear. Grade 3, enough that he needed surgery. Definitely out for the season if you get that anywhere near the season. But, he's got 10.5 months until the season. He's got really an extra, 4 or 5 months on top of the necessary recovery time to get back on the field. I don't have much concerns there.
As long as he's not training with the Green Bay guys.
Yeah, if he can stay away from the Green Bay Packers strength and conditioning,
he should be fine.
If you want to get that joke, make sure you check out the NFC North episode where we raised some questions on the Packers, really rehab team, medical team. Similar situation for Jerome Baker coming over from the Dolphins, wrist surgery. He injured himself pretty late in the season, the 7th of January. And another 4 to 6 month recovery. He's got 8 months. So, any concern for either of those guys?
Nope. I think both of them should be fine.
Think both should be fine. One guy I do have a bit of concern with is starting guard, or is he tackle or a guard? Starting right tackle. Abram Lucas. He was in and out of the lineup, had a lot of kind of difficulty, chronic knee pain, some degenerative things going on in his knee. He missed 11 games last year. This has been kind of an issue. So he did have surgery on the 17th of January, right after the season, hoping to fix that up. But as any type of chronic knee cartilage, I would assume they didn't say exactly what the surgery was, but anytime you have some chronic issues in the knee, it's not like they can just replace all that. So, what are your thoughts on it?
No, exactly what you just said. I mean, anytime we start talking about chronic issues, we're talking about long-term things that just won't go away. And anytime you try to clean this up with surgery, like not to say that it's always a bad thing, but like you're almost asking for more weakness and more scar tissue and more like things to like build up that you don't necessarily want.
Yep.
So I mean, we can go through a number of different offensive linemen that have had similar knee related chronic
Yep.
issues.
Ryan Ramczyk.
Ramczyk,
Yeah.
Bakhtiari. I mean,
Ryan
dudes.
Jensen.
Yep, exactly. So, this is one of those things that like these are big human beings that,
Yep.
their brunt of their work is through their legs and driving through defensive linemen. And if you have pain in your knee, you're not going to be able to do that nearly as well. So that, like you said, I think that is a question mark going into training camp for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, like you said, big human beings, right? That's a lot of weight on the knee that's already not too stable. Now, they do expect him back for training camp, but I just think this is one to watch for. I don't think it's going to go
Yes,
away.
right.
So it's not as simple as, hey, he's going to be back. He's going to be good to go. So concern
Right.
there.
Yeah, that's one that he may start the first week, he may start the second week, and then all of a sudden he's going to the sideline in the third week, and then for the fourth and fifth week he's on the bench, and then he comes back, and it's just kind of one of those things that it may be in and out. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. And there is a bit of a drop off there between him and George Fant or Stone Forsythe. And then JSN picked up a minor shoulder injury, but it is expected to be minor. At this point, we don't have a ton of information on it, but the expectation is it's not supposed to be a big deal. So should be good to go there. So looking over at the fantasy side of things, I think one of the bigger things that stands out to me is the wide receivers are intriguing, and it's the running backs and wide receivers competition, right? Your wide receivers, obviously, DK Metcalf, JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Tyler Lockett. I thought where they're going right now, ADP was a little interesting. DK, wide receiver 20, JSN, wide receiver 47, and Lockett at wide receiver 51. What guy would you be taking this season at that ADP?
Oh man, that's tough. I really, honestly, I think they are going to try to get Jackson Smith and JSN going a little bit more than they did last year. I think there was a little bit being said that he wasn't super happy with the way that they were running the offense, just his involvement. So I would not be surprised if he goes off a little bit more. So I would probably take JSN. But it's so hard having three really solid wide receivers. You're gonna have to share involvement.
Yeah, no, that is true. I mean, I think he's definitely the guy who's kind of the sexier pick right now, JSN. I think he's got definitely the highest ceiling right now based on where he's going. I mean, DK Metcalf, he might be the best wide receiver, but you're paying the price for him at wide receiver 20. I like Tyler Lockett there at wide receiver 51. I just think he's a producer, and he's a guy who just has makes catches, gets in the end zone, consistently produces. That actually takes me into one of my best bets for this team, and that is Tyler Lockett over 4.5 receiving touchdowns at plus 125 there. He has hit this number 7 out of 9 times in his career. It's only been 2 seasons. I think his second and third season were the only 2 seasons. Second and third seasons were the only 2 seasons he did not get this. He had 5 last year. I just think he's a guy who just finds the end zone. So give me Tyler Lockett over 4.5 receiving touchdowns at plus 125. I like the plus money there. And then kind of not really correlated, but almost in the opposite direction. Give me Geno Smith under 22.5 passing touchdowns. Look, at this point, Geno Smith has really had one good year in the NFL. I think a lot of people tend to forget that. He has hit this number once in his entire career. Obviously, it was the career. I think he made the Pro Bowl last year, which I didn't really understand. But 2022, when he had 30 touchdowns, the only other time he's been close was last year with 20. I think he is declining. I don't think he's that good to begin with. And there's a reason that there are odds right now for him to be the starting quarterback week 1. Now, he is the favorite, but the fact that there's already questions about, hey, is Sam Howell going to get in here? If they struggle, if they, get off to a slow start, I could absolutely see them trying to see what they got in Sam Howell, or, mixing it up there and not having Geno just be the starter, because I think he's kind of declining on his way out. So give me the under 22.5 passing touchdowns with a little bit of juice at minus 135. What do you got for other people?
I'm just trying to maul your Geno Smith pick there. I don't know if I like that one or not, but it's partially due to my best bet here, and really I think the Seahawks, like we said, they're kind of running it back.
Yeah.
I think overall, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Rams coming up here in just a minute, but for whatever reason, I just don't like. I think the Rams are going to take a little bit of a dip.
Okay.
The Cardinals are still not that great of a team.
Yeah.
I just think the Seahawks can get 2.5 or, at least 3 division wins. So I like the Seahawks over 2.5 division wins at minus 105.
Okay.
I think their defense is so solid. Their
Yeah.
offense is basically running it back. So I think overall, I think they'll get those 3 division wins. I think they'll split between at least they may get 2 from the Cardinals, and they'll just have to pick up 1 from the 4 remaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Right. We talked about the Cardinals there. May have a fun offense, but their defense should be pretty paper soft, paper thin there.
Yep.
And I think they do play their division tough. You can win 3 division games and have Sam Howell be your starter, or just Geno Smith be the starter and do what he did last year and still get under this number. So I do think, Pete Carroll, defensive-minded coach, he's got 2 solid running backs in Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. I think this could be a run-heavy team. They do have some good wide receivers. I just don't think they need to light up the scoreboard for them to be successful. So I'm fine with that. I could see them, doing something similar to what they did last year.
Did you just mention Pete Carroll?
Yeah.
He's
Oh, is he gone?
He's been gone.
What am I thinking about?
Dan
What do you mean he's been gone? Whoa, what?
He got booted.
Yes, all right. He got booted this year, this offseason. Don't make me think Mike McDonald. Yes, the defensive wizard, Mike McDonald. And that kind of speaks more to that defense. That should be a better. But anyway, even proves my point even more. Defensive-minded head coach. It's just not the guy who's like 75 years old. Yes, he finally was kicked out. Damn, hey, why it's the off season, man.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not August or September running that. So, all right. Well, Mike McDonald is a defensive head coach. He's got some good running backs. I think this could be. I see. Yeah, I'm really anywhere for me from like 7 to 10 wins for this team. But yeah, they're really just Geno Smith. I'm not a believer, but seems like you got a little bit more faith than I do.